And welcome back, YouTube. This is BoosterBox Buster here with another video. Today I'm here to share with you my top 12 favorite Dungeons & Dragons miniatures from the Unhallowed set. Now, the Unhallowed set was the 12th set released in the original Dungeons & Dragons miniatures pre-painted lineup. And it had a very cool undead theme running throughout it. And I gotta say, this particular set is one of my favorite sets ever released in the original D&D Miniatures line. It did take quite a bit of time to narrow it down, but I finally got a group of 12 miniatures and 3 honorable mentions prepared for this video. Now, before I get started, I do want to say a couple of ground rules that I imposed on myself for this particular challenge, or this top 12. The first rule is I wanted to include 2 of each rarity, so at least 2 commons, 2 uncommons, and 2 rares. The rest of the 6 could be whatever rarity I want them to be. This is just so I don't just straight overlook all the commons, straight overlook most of the uncommons, and go straight for the rares. I actually want to include a little bit of a little bit of different miniatures that you would not see in a normal top 10. The second rule is if I don't own the miniature, no matter how awesome that miniature may be, I will not include it in this particular top 12. I am currently missing 2 miniatures from this set, that being the Rune Giant Stone Let me rephrase that. The Stone Giant Rune Carver, I don't know why I mixed up the words there, and the Black Dragon. Those 2 will not appear on this list no matter how cool the miniature may be, and that's just because it's not fair to judge a miniature without actually having it in your hand. It may be much cooler than what the pictures show online, or it may be much less cool than what the pictures show online. So, with those 2 ground rules out of the way, I also want to say, if your favorite miniature from this set does not make my top 12, that's perfectly fine. That just means that we have different taste. And if you would want to, you could make your own top 10, top 12 list from this set, and I would definitely check it out. So, with all those ground rules in place, I think it's time to start down the countdown. Start up the countdown. There we go. This is going to be a fun video, isn't it? Alright, so up first, in the number 12 spot, we have, representing one of the 2 commons, the Changeling Rogue. Now, this particular miniature, one second. Okay. There we go. This particular miniature is actually a really cool common. Has really well built armor. And I love the red cloak that he is, or she is, wearing. Now, changelings are not the most commonplace, but they are very usable as informants, either for a neutral party, an evil party, or a good party. That they definitely can work any way that they want to. This could even work as a really good playable character as somebody is looking to be a changeling. I love how you really don't see a face because changelings don't really have a recognizable face as far as real detailed facial features. And I love the gray skin because that is the pale gray skin because that is the actual color of changelings, at least in D&D 3.5. So that is number 12, the Changeling Rogue, and I like him quite a bit for a common. Alright, so let's put him right there. So, in the number 11 spot, representing the second common from this particular set, we have the Grave-Touched Ghoul. Now, ghouls are humans that were turned into ghouls, or some sort of humanoid life form turned into ghouls. A Grave-Touched Ghoul is a little bit different. It actually retains most of its memories and abilities that it had when it was originally in a human state, or a humanoid state. And I gotta say, it's really cool. You could run it as just a regular ghoul or a grave-touched ghoul. And look at that mug. It looks classic ghoul. I mean, it looks like it came straight out of a Castlevania video game. And I love the way that it's gnawing on like a human arm. Like it just ripped somebody's arm off and now that's its snack. I absolutely love that aspect. I think this is by far the best common miniature from this set for that reason. Really well detailed on the back. You got the spine kind of sticking through. Just such a cool looking miniature. That is the Grave-Touched Ghoul, or you can run it as just a regular ghoul if you need an army of ghouls. Alright, so up next on my list, in the number 10 slot, we have this really cool uncommon known as the Intellect Devourer. Now these are kind of almost like dogs to the Mind Flayers. Only being a Mind Flayer's servant, of course, it's going to attack the brain or the intellect of its opponents rather than physically attack them. I love that it's just like one giant brain with legs. That's really, really cool. You probably will not really get a lot of use out of this on the tabletop unless you're running into a like a den of mind flayers or like a mind flayer mastermind in this. Yep, and you need like multiple of these to like be their guard dogs per se. But yeah, the Intellect Devourer is a really cool miniature. I love the brain sculpt on it. It looks like a pretty good or a pretty well made brain miniature. And the arms just really are really cool. That is the Intellect Devourer. Up next, representing the number 9 slot, we have the Azira. Now the Azira is a race of creatures from the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. And you can almost use them in kind of any way you want. You could use them as the race that they represent, or you can use them as like a fallen angel type character, or as a celestial being with this like a really advanced celestial being with these like really ornate wings. You can this could definitely be a multi-tasked miniature on the tabletop. You could really use your imagination. I love how it's like spewing fire as it's flying through the air. And the translucency of the wings is a really, really nice touch. Instead of being an opaque orange, it's a really nice translucent orange to represent a fiery blaze. Of course, you got the classic bow and arrow on the back for range attacks. You got our flaming sword right here for those close combat encounters. I love the red hair flowing in the wind. The long legs are a little bit interesting. They almost look like frog legs. They are. I think the legs are a little bit different, but other than that, I mean, this can even be like Rogue from the X-Men, just like with Rogue. Not, yeah, is it Rogue? I think it's no. Who am I thinking of? But yeah, not. I apologize, I forget her name right now. The X-Men with the blue skin that can morph. Just really, really cool. I absolutely love this miniature. The flaming wings, the flaming sword, that's just a really nice touch. That is Azira. Alright, so up next, representing, let's see, they're representing the 8th slot, we have a second uncommon, and that is the Vampire Dire Wolf. Now, you don't have to use it as described. This could just be a straight dire wolf that's a little bit rabid, or looking for a fight. You can use it as intended as the Vampire Dire Wolf, or you could use it as a Zombie Dire Wolf, or an Undead Dire Wolf, or you could even use it just as a regular Dire Wolf. This has so many different, minute implications that you could use with it. It's really, really nice, versatile miniature. If you're looking for some sort of dire wolf stand-in, you got it right here. I love the spines on its back to represent that it's dire. I love the viciousness that it's showing. This wolf is ready to either protect its territory or make a snack out of whatever opponent's in its way. The fox fur that it has on it, it looks really nice, really well painted. It goes from like this dark black to a grayish look. I absolutely love this miniature. That is the Vampire Dire Wolf. So up next, representing the 7th slot, and the last uncommon on the list, the rest are going to be rare, we have the teeny tiny, that's not even going to show up on the recording, I about bet, Bat Familiar. Look at this bat. I absolutely love the wings that it has. It's just translucent enough where you can see through it, but not too translucent, the orange that it has on it. Of course, you have the black stripes representing its bone-like structure so it could fly. The detail on the face is actually pretty dang good. Here, let me see if I can get that in focus for you. It has that really nice furry back. The legs underneath. This is a really, really well done tiny miniature, and honestly, it's a great stand-in. Let's say if you have any vampire that you're using and they need to transform into a bat, boom, you just swap it out for this bat miniature, and your party could try to take out the bat before the vampire can escape. If you happen to if you need a swarm of bats, you could just get this with, just get a whole bunch of bats, these together, and then boom, you have a swarm of bats. If somebody needs a little familiar, and they happen to want it to be a bat, boom, you got this exact miniature. Once again, very versatile, very well done for a tiny, and I just absolutely love it. But that just might be the Castlevania fanboy speaking out in me. That is the Bat Familiar representing number 7. Alright, so now we've reached the top 6, and these are all absolutely fantastic rares. Number 6, we have the Sukora Quarry. Now these are absolute nightmares. The frontline beast of the dreamscape. Look at the claw-like hands just coming out of its head. The little tiny hands all kind of curled up and looking like it's ready to plot something nasty. The giant curled up snake-like coil in the back there. I mean, this is a stuff of nightmare. I mean, how can you dream this stuff up? I mean, you run into this thing, you're going to be running the other way, I guarantee you. Once again, not a very common encounter. You ain't probably going to run into too many of these, but I just absolutely love this miniature. It reminds me so much of Mad Scientist guy's Bankai from Bleach. When I mean Mad Scientist, I mean the one of the 13 court guards. Very, very cool. That is the Sukora Quarry. Number 5. We've reached the top 5. We have the Beholder Lich. Now, Beholder Liches, once again, are very rare. Probably going to be like the boss of some sort of campaign that you're running, like the final encounter of a campaign. And look at this maw. You got those teeth just absolutely rigid. Its eye completely ripped out of its socket. And even a couple of its stalks already chopped off. The Beholder Lich is an absolute fantastic piece, a great final boss encounter for some sort of campaign or module that you were building, and has an absolute great look to it. Absolutely love the the scaling that it has on it. It looks really dried out, as it should, because it's a lich. And I gotta say, the paint job is top notch. The iconic nature of it being a beholder is also there. It's just an absolute fantastic miniature all around. That is the Beholder Lich. Alright, so representing the number 4 slot, the last 4 are absolute really good gold mines. We got the Werewolf Lord. Now I gotta say, the Werewolf Lord is an absolute freak of nature. I love this guy. This could be used as like a king, or as it says here, the Lord of Werewolves. Definitely the leader of a pack of werewolves. This guy is large and in charge. One of the largest Dungeons & Dragons miniatures that I actually own, that you could actually pull from any sealed pack that's not a huge set. The fangs on this guy, just the mouth in general is really well sculpted. The eyes are those piercing yellow, just absolutely no pupils. I mean, this guy's in full-on rage mode. I love the pose. It's like he's like, come at me, bro, and he's about ready to do like a suplex on whatever opponent comes his way. The abs are ripped to no avail. The hair running down there is excellent. He he almost looks like he's wearing some sort of gloves. I know it's like his hand paws, but it almost looks like gloves he's wearing. Very cool. The only thing missing would have been like a little bit of. Honestly, you could probably even add this to a miniature if you want. You could add like a little bit of like blood stain on the teeth or blood stain on the like claws. That'd be a really cool touch. But yeah, this Vampire Lord is 100% fantastic. Definitely recommended for anybody who needs some sort of boss. Did I say vampire? For anybody that needs some sort of boss werewolf for some sort of encounter or module that they are building. Definitely, definitely a fantastic miniature from the Unhallowed set. Alright, so with that being said, we are at our top 3 miniatures. And the top 3 are all great and could easily, honestly, the top 5 could easily be swapped around to almost any slot on this list. But number 3, in my opinion, goes to one of the most important characters in all of D&D history. Count Strahd von Zarovich, the vampire. The original vampire. If you have ever done anything with a module of Ravenloft, any setting at all with Ravenloft, this is the original baddie from the original module. One of the most popular villains in all of D&D. I love that he's shown in motion, just to show how swift vampires can be. Of course, he has his cane, the very pale skin that any vampire would have, very well dressed as any count should be. And of course, you got the straight-on face. He is ready to... He's either in a hurry or he is ready to like elbow someone straight in the chest to begin an encounter. This is such a cool miniature. And this was the first time that they actually made a pre-painted miniature of Count Strahd, and let me tell you, people really, really loved it when they released him. Some people were disappointed that it wasn't a bit more of a more standard, like, regular pose, but I really love the action pose. Honestly, I think that's so cool. And of course, this could be used as a stand-in for Dracula if you're doing a Castlevania type module or encounter. I absolutely love this miniature, and it deserves the number 3 spot on my list. Alright, so we got the top 2. And from the thumbnail, you already know what number 2 is going to be. Because number 2 is the Large Ice Elemental. Now, this one is not undead related, spiritual related, or anything like that. Most of the miniatures up here are undead or horror theme related in some shape or form. This one, no, it's just a large ice elemental. But I absolutely love this miniature. I love how it goes from like a really cold frost to like this white frost that's kind of like flaking, you know? That's really cool. Maybe a little bit of snow patch on there. I love the fact that it's like this really cool translucent blue. Something about translucency in figures, I really like that. And I love its maw. It's just like this like giant ice elemental that's just been like disturbed. Like you came up to it, disturbed it, and now it's ready to rumble because it's like, hey, I was taking a nap you disturb my nap, you're going to pay for disturbing my nap. The little spikes just running all around it, the claw hands. This is like, if I envisioned a giant ice elemental, something like this kind of comes to mind. I absolutely love this ice elemental. Let me see if I can get a good grip of it. There we go. It's large, it's in charge, it's just fantastic. I know this is going to be controversial. A lot of people would say that the Werewolf Lord and Strahd definitely deserve to be ahead of it, but this is my list. I make it the way I want it. Definitely one of my favorite miniatures from this set. And that leaves us with the number 1 slot. However, I do have 3 honorable mentions to go through before I reveal the number 1. And honorable mention number 1, just barely missing this list, goes to the Gorgon. Now, Gorgons are very cool creatures. They're essentially giant metal bowls with petrifying breath. I absolutely love this design. It's very simple, but very cool nonetheless. The tail on the back there is almost very cat-like. I kind of like that. The giant standard bowl nose ring that you see there, and the green piercing eyes. It's just such a cool miniature. That is the Gorgon. Honorable mention. The second honorable mention goes to the Displacer Beast Manhunter. Honestly, I would just use this as a regular Displacer Beast. You don't really need to use it as the Manhunter variation. And I gotta say, it is fantastic. I love the giant tentacle feelers that it has. Displacer Beasts are always cool how they kind of create a second one, a duplicate copy of themselves, or like an illusion, so you never really know which one is which. And I gotta say, they did a pretty good job. The paint job is pretty simple, but Displacer Beasts aren't really flashy or anything. They're just a very basic color like this. That's the Displacer Beast Manhunter. And the final one that just missed the top 10 goes to the Van Helsing of the D&D world, Van Richten. This works as a great NPC. Van Richten is so iconic in the D&D world, pairing very well with Strahd. I'm not going to lie, I didn't like his model quite as much as Strahd, but I had to put him on the honorable mention list just because of how iconic and what's the right word? How iconic and how memorable he is in the D&D world. And the cool thing about Van Richten is he could easily be used as a playable character too if you need someone that's a vampire hunter, maybe a warrior, like the old wise warrior. Very easily could fill a role of a lot of different NPCs or a lot of different PC characters. Van Richten, the final honorable mention. Alright, so with that being said, we are at our number 1 spot on the Dungeons & Dragons Miniatures Top 12 from Unhallowed list, and that belongs to none other than the Bone Naga. Now this miniature doesn't make the list for its usability because you're rarely going to use a Bone Naga. But it makes it on the list for just how cool it looks. I have a very biased nature toward any type of skeleton miniature, and this is so cool. The fact that it's just one giant bone snake is absolutely amazing. I love the giant, like, skeleton head that it has there. The skull, I guess. How sharp all the teeth are. How each ripple and coil is actually represented. It's almost like a giant rib cage just absolutely running all the way through. It's so cool. Of course, like I said, usability, you're only going to run into it the way the bone nagas are made are through interruption. When a bone naga is trying to resurrect, the Yanti come in with an interruption ritual to basically like halt its resurrection, and it only resurrects halfway, and it turns into this bone naga, which is a really cool story for a different time. I absolutely love it. It ends with like this little like rattle tail. It's just so cool. Definitely frightening, and a good centerpiece for any skeletal miniature collection. Number 1 goes to the Bone Naga. So with that being said, that has been Booster Box Buster's top 12 Dungeons & Dragons miniatures from the Unhallowed set. Please let me know in the comments down below what your favorite miniature is. I always like to hear that. Let me know what you think of my list, if you think the list was great, or if you think the list was absolute BS and I should resign from making top 12 lists because I chose bad miniatures. And also, let me know if you'd like to see me continue to do Dungeons & Dragons miniatures top 10/12 list. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button if you want to see future content from me, and until next time, this has been Booster Box Buster, and I'm signing out. Peace.